now. Last one was a nighttime launch. It's just so loud, and what you don't get at home around the nation when you watch these on TV, typically the camera is zoomed in so tight on the shuttle and the external fuel tank and the booster rockets, you really never see how long the flame is. And the flame is like 6 or 7 times longer than the shuttle itself. It's just very, very visually impressive, and the audio is very impressive as well. It's very loud.
It sounds incredible, Phil. We'll be checking back with you in just a few moments. Folks, you are looking at live pictures from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where, as Phil mentioned, we are just moments away from liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery. We'll be installing a new science lab. Also be conducting some rather mundane plumbing duties, we are told. The 14-day mission to the space station is jam-packed for the crew. Joining me now from the Kennedy Space Center is the former astronaut, NASA astronaut, Janice Voss. I don't think she's former. I think once an astronaut, always an astronaut. Janice spent 49 days orbiting the Earth in various space shuttles. Janice, again, what's the crew going through right now when you're this close to launch inside of 4 minutes?
Well, you heard some of the commentary, I think, from NASA. The pilot has a number of things. On the right side of the shuttle where the pilot sits are the electrical systems, and he just connected to the essential buses that give the power to a lot of the equipment on board. There's also the hydraulics over there, and he has to connect the hydraulic power units. And he also happens to have on his side the keyboard, the caution and warning stuff. So the pilot has the most activity right now, but everybody's listening to what's going on to make sure that there's nothing that they are going to have to work.
Janice, it's Julie Banderas, and I understand the Discovery Commander Mark Kelly's brother. He has a twin brother, Scott, who is also at the Cape and is also a shuttle commander. And his brother says that it is more nerve-wracking to watch his brother go up than to be strapped in himself. I would imagine that you know his brother. Is he biting all his nails off right now?
It's absolutely true, and it's something that I think everybody can understand who's watched families take off on airplanes and whatever. When you're there and you're busy and you're active, you're too involved in things to think about all what's going on. But when you're just sitting and watching and don't have anything really to do, it's a lot harder to have something going on like that and not be a part of it.
I've met both of them, and they like to play games with folks because they look exactly alike, and they've had fun with that, as you can imagine. We're about a little over 2 minutes away from launch right now, Janice. What's happening right now? We see it looks like that fitting over the external fuel tank is being lifted. That's a significant event in the launch sequence.
Absolutely. That cap is used to put the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen back in the tank. Those are very cold, and it's a lot easier to just let them evaporate and put the coolant liquid back in rather than try to build a refrigerator around the whole vehicle. So it's only when they're ready to launch that they pull that away because the oxygen and hydrogen are boiling off, and so that means that they're really ready to go.
What is the most intense moment for these astronauts once they take off? Once liftoff happens, what does it feel like to be inside there?
There's a lot of vibration. You are tightly strapped down in your seat. We have a 5-point harness. So I use the analogy, for those people who live in Boston, it's kind of like riding the Green Line near Park Station, where it's really bumpy, a lot of vibration.
I've ridden the Green Line, and I can't imagine it compares, but I'll take your word for it. And I want to listen to NASA now because I believe they're going to be starting a countdown very soon. So Janice, would you please stand by? Let's listen. All right, NASA's not speaking.
Janice, real quick, the countdown, we always hear T-minus 1 minute, T-minus 30 seconds. What does the T mean?
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Ah, there you go. You cued them.
T is just time.
Time.
So T0 is the time at 0. T-minus 1 is a minute before 0 time.
Okay, gosh, I can't believe it makes all sorts of noises on the way up.
They did just say, though, T-1, so they apparently heard Greg Kelly. No relation to the Discovery commander there.
Let's listen in again to the NASA announcers.
Go for auto sequence start. The computers on board Discovery control the spacecraft.
TLS go for auto sequence start. 25.
T-minus 25 seconds and counting.
20.
T-minus 15 seconds and counting.
10.
10 seconds. We have go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery. Combate Kudasai. Best of luck to the International Space Station's newest laboratory.
Houston, Discovery, roll program.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Houston now controlling the flight of Discovery, a man-made rising sun on behalf of Japan. Discovery on the proper alignment, heads down, wings level for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station. Seconds into the flight, the 3 liquid fuel main engines now throttling back to 72% of rated performance, going in the bucket, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it goes supersonic. Discovery already 5 miles in altitude, 8.5 miles downrange, traveling almost 1,000 miles an hour.
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Mark Kelly, joined on the flight deck by pilot Ken Ham, flight engineer Ron Guerin, and mission specialist Karen Nyberg. Down on the middeck are Mike Fossum, Aki Hoshide, and Greg Shamatov, heading for a half year on the International Space Station. One minute 45 seconds into the flight. Discovery 22 miles in altitude, 23 miles downrange, standing by for solid rocket booster separation.
Copy staging.
Booster officer confirms staging, a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The onboard computer steering the shuttle for the on-ramp to the highway for the International Space Station. Discovery 37 miles in altitude, 50 miles downrange, traveling 3,200 miles an hour. The orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited, providing Discovery with a burst of power for the next 2 minutes 15 seconds.
Roger, 2-engine Maroon.
That call from Mark Kelly, the first of a series of performance calls in the event of the loss of a main engine. However, all 3 main engines continue to perform normally, along with the auxiliary power units and the 3 power-producing fuel cells. Discovery flying on the singular power of its 3 liquid fuel main engines, draining a half a ton of fuel per second from the large fuel tank. Discovery 52 miles in altitude, 100 miles downrange, 3.5 minutes into the flight. We're coming up on the point of negative return, where the shuttle would be too far downrange, too high in altitude to return to the launch site in the event of an engine failure. All 3 main engines continue to function normally, however. 3 minutes, 47 seconds into the flight. Discovery flying straight and true, speeding toward a date with the International Space Station on Monday.
Discovery Houston, negative return.
Roger, negative return.
All of Discovery's systems in great shape. 4 minutes, 15 seconds into the flight. Discovery 62 miles in altitude, picking up speed, 170 miles downrange, traveling 5,300 miles an hour. The Environmental Systems Officer reports the activation of the flash evaporator system, providing cooling for Discovery's avionics and other systems until the time that the payload bay doors are open, an hour and a half into the flight. 4 minutes, 40 seconds into the mission. All the main engines right down the money, in good shape, good performance, good auxiliary power units, good fuel cells. Discovery traveling 6,000 miles an hour, 66 miles in altitude, 230 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Five minutes into the flight, 3.5 minutes of powered flight remaining. Very quiet here in the flight control room.
Discovery Houston, press to ATO, select Istris.
Roger, press to ATO, we'll select Istris.
That call acknowledged by Commander Mark Kelly, indicating that in the event of a loss of a main engine, we could still make our abort to orbit targets. However, all three main engines continue to function normally. The orbiter will soon begin to roll to a heads-up position. Now beginning that roll to heads-up, the main engine's now swiveling. The shuttle rolling to its position above the fuel tank, gaining more favorable communications through the tracking and data relay satellite system as it heads uphill. 6 minutes, 15 seconds into the flight, Discovery traveling almost 10,000 miles an hour, 397 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center.
Istris 104, your shutdown plan is nominal, and your go for the +X, go for the pitch.
Copy that, Terry. Copy the boundary. Nominal shutdown plan. Go for the +X. Go for the pitch.
Good readback, and you are pressed to MECO.
Roger. Press to MECO.
Press to main engine cutoff call by Commander Mark Kelly, indicating should we lose a main engine, we can still make our nominal main engine cutoff targets. However, all three main engines hang in perfectly, as well as the auxiliary power units and the fuel cells at the 7-minute mark into the flight. Discovery now 515 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, traveling 11,000 miles an hour. Very soon, the main engines will once again be throttled down to limit the stress on the shuttle and its 7 crew members to that of 3 times the effective gravity.
Houston, single engine press 104.
Roger. Single engine press 104.
At the time of main engine cutoff, a little more than a minute from now, Discovery will enter its preliminary orbit at a speed of 5 miles a second. Discovery 615 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, looking great. Engines now throttling back. Less than a minute of powered flight remaining for Discovery. Traveling 14,000 miles an hour, almost 700 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery passing 23,000 feet per second at the 8-minute mark into the flight. A flawless ascent so far for the orbiter. Standing by for main engine cutoff. That'll be followed a few seconds later by the separation of the external fuel tank.
Copy, MECO.
Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff, standing by for external tank separation. External tank separation confirmed. Discovery now in its preliminary orbit. The centerpiece of Japanese space science, Kibo, completing the first leg of its journey to the International Space Station. Commander Mark Kelly will now maneuver Discovery to the correct orientation so that video and digital stills of the fuel tank can be captured by cameras embedded in the shuttle's umbilical well for post-flight analysis.
Discovery Houston, that was a nominal MECO. OMS 1 is not required.
Copy. Nominal MECO. OMS 1 not required.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been looking at what appears to have been a flawless launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery. As the NASA announcer said, a man-made rising sun, a tribute really to the Japanese, who have not only an astronaut on board, but also a vital component for the International Space Station. And one other thing we heard him say, Ganbat Kudasai.
Perfect on-time launch
and
for
apparently in
Discovery.
Japanese, that means do your best. They also mean it for best of luck. Again, a real Japanese flavor to this launch. And some really spectacular pictures. Let's bring in our Julie. What do you think?
Yeah, well, no, first of all, this is incredible. When we watch this every single time, to think